Hello, let's talk about this question. It's called queue at the school. We're given that boys and girls together are forming a line or a queue of n people in the canteen. Initially, they start by entering or standing the way that they entered the canteen, but after a while, boys started feeling awkward for standing in front of the girls. So every second, a boy lets a girl come in front of him. To put that in an example, let's say a boy is standing at position 1 and a girl is standing at position 2. In the first second, the boy will move backwards to position 2 and the girl will move ahead to position 1. Since there can be a lot of boys in the queue, this can happen multiple times, but each boy will only move once every second. This is what we're given right now. We have technically three inputs. The first is n, which is the length of the queue. T is the time that has passed, and the string s will be the way students or rather boys and girls entered the canteen. We essentially have to find out after t seconds how different the queue would look like. The idea behind this question is interesting, but it stumped me for a little bit when I was making this. The idea here is at every second, we will go through the entire list and figure out if there's a girl standing behind a boy, and if that is the case, we will swap the positions of the girl and the boy. We will continue this for the whole string s that we have been given, while making sure that one boy moves only once every second. That is essentially the basis of the question and the solution that I will be presenting. There's probably a better solution out there. If you can find it, please let me know. But let's get into the code. I'm going to start off with my template. Since we have three inputs, we will take those in. N and T are inputted together, and string s is inputted right after. Now, since we know that the swap can happen only once per second, we will essentially use a while loop here, making sure that we go through all of the seconds that we have to calculate for. Inside the while loop, we will be using a for loop to parse the string and find out if there are any boys that are standing in front of the girls, and we will swap them essentially. Our for loop will look like that. The reason why we're doing n-1 here is later on we'll be comparing the position or the value at the position I and I plus 1. So if we do less than n here, our last check would go out of bounds, and that would not be good. So this is what we do, and that's how we structure our for loop. After that, we are simply comparing if at s of I equals a b for boy and s of I plus 1, I like spaces, equals a g. And if that is the case, we will swap their positions, s I and s I plus 1. Now here's the part that tricked me for quite a while, but once I did understand it, it made a lot of sense. Let me write this and I'll explain what this does. We are essentially incrementing I again, and that is to make sure that one boy does not make two moves in each second, because the while loop here controls the time and everything below here is happening in 1 second, quote unquote. Once we have done that, all we have to do is output the string that we have transformed through all of that stuff, and the code should work. Let's try to compile. It did compile, that's good. And now let's just check with the 3 input examples that we've been given. That works. In the second input example, we are doing this for 2 seconds, so there's going to be a little bit more change versus doing it for 1 second. And lastly, we are taking an example where we don't really have to change anything, and we get the results that we were expecting. That is the code. One thing we have to include here is algorithm, since we use swap here, which will be done like that. This code works. Let me show it to you on Codeforces. There we go. The code does work. For some reason it takes that much memory, which I think is a bug, but it is what it is. This is the code that I showed you, and that is it for this question. Let me know if you have any questions or if you find a better way to solve this, but thank you for watching.